taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Mitsubishi Outlander. Now this is the hybrid version of the vehicle, and you can tell just because you've got those EV settings along with charge. But whether it's the hybrid or the traditional gas engine, the clusters are going to look relatively the same. There are technically two different options. So there's either going to be a digital cluster available, or there's an analog cluster with a partial digital as well. They work pretty much the exact same way. So let me walk you through everything that you need to know. The first thing is that the steering wheel inside the vehicle is going to be heated, and the button is just down the center stack there. So just underneath the driver's side adjusting, you can push in order to turn it on. It's single level, but it's all the way around. Then you can also easily adjust the steering wheel. It's going to be manual telescoping across the board. So just by your left knee, there's a release, and you're going to go in, out, up and down to create that perfect position. Once you find it, click it, lock it back into place. Very straightforward. Then you've got so many buttons and levers all over the place. Let's start off with the left stick. So you see there, you've got a few different light modes that are available. You're going to be in auto mode the majority of the time. And the big reason why is because the vehicle is going to determine when the lights come on, when they dim, whatever the case may be. You can pull in towards you in order to have your high beams going. But when you're in the auto mode, you can't lock your high beams out. You have to be in the top mode there in order to be able to flip away to turn them on, pull towards you to turn them off. When you're in the auto mode, what's going to happen with the high beams is if it recognizes it needs it, turns them on. If a car's oncoming, it's going to automatically dim them before bringing them right back on again. It's a really useful setting. From there, there's also the option of using the switch here in order to be able to turn your fog lamps on or off. Then you've also got your right stick, and that's going to be for rear wipers on the tip of the stick there, adjusting the wipers that way. And then you've got your different wiper speeds there. When you're in the auto mode, the vehicle is going to determine what the actual wiper speed is necessary, unless you move it up or down this way. So this is essentially just based off of the amount of rain hitting the windshield. So you can go faster versus slower this way. You're going to pull in towards you to get the front wiper fluid going. You're going to push away in order to get that rear wiper fluid going. So pretty straightforward there. And you've also got paddle shifters. Minus on the left-hand side, and plus is going to be on the right-hand side. And these are going to be specifically for, you can see there, different levels. So it's got B, and that's going to be the level for your regenerative braking. So with the minus there, it's going to coast essentially for regenerative braking, versus if you are in the plus mode there instead, that's going to be your maximum regenerative braking. There's also the option down the center there to push this button, and that's going to be for your one pedal drive instead. It's not going to take you down to a complete stop, but it gets you pretty dang close at the same time. But you've got a series of other buttons that are available. So along the right-hand side, you've got this button here, and that's going to be a voice command prompt.
Please say or select a command.
So you'd be able to do things.
Voice recognition.
You could do things like change songs, radio stations. If you had factory navigation, you'd also be able to navigate using your voice as well. There are tons of different things that you can do. So one thing that I'd recommend is that when you get your Mitsubishi, go through here, because you can see
play. Please
there are so many different things.
Canceling voice recognition.
There are so many things that you're able to do. So really get the hang of it, because it's a very useful setting. You can answer or hang up on a phone call. And then these ones are going to be for your cruise control system. So there are two different types of cruise. You're either going to have standard cruise control, or there's the adaptive cruise. But with adaptive cruise, you can even use regular cruise. So what you're going to do, you can toggle on the smart cruise control or the adaptive cruise this way, toggle that off. If you do a push and hold instead, that's going to let you toggle into traditional cruise. So you can see there, you're in traditional cruise instead. When you hit cruise and you've got this little icon and these ones showing up, that means that you're in the adaptive cruise control system instead. From there, as you start to drive, you then push down in order to set your speed, and then you go increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. Push there to cancel. You can hit the brake to cancel as well, and then there's a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. So you can see there are 3 unique levels when you do that. Think of it like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi type of a rule. So you're about 1 and change seconds away, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, etc. I find just residential streets, 1 is okay. On the highway, I usually go either 1 or 2, just depending on the flow of traffic. But that's going to be a matter of personal preference. From there, you've got a series of different buttons along the left-hand side. So you've got your volume rocker there. Downside to the vehicle is that there's no mute button. So you can't, like you can push to go down this way a little bit faster, slower. You can see it kind of going crazy up and down this way, but there's no physical mute button. You can also change between songs, stations, whatever the case may be. So on audio, we go to FM for a second there. Let's make sure we're muted. So you can push there in order to jump between all of your different presets. But if you're on AM, FM, or Sirius XM, if you do a press and hold instead, that's going to act as a seek button, which is kind of neat. So you could push and hold this way if you want to. But honestly, the best bet,
Please say your select command.
tune to 94.9 FM.
Tuning to 94.9 FM.
So just using your voice to change stations is great, but just make sure you have all your presets set up. So if you want to know how the actual infotainment system works, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description of this video. From there, you've got a little scroll wheel to go up and down. You can go left versus right here as well. And then there's a menu button. So I'm going to zoom you in and let's go through a few things inside of the cluster because there are a lot of things that you need to know. All right, so first thing, like I mentioned, this is the hybrid version of the vehicle. So you've got your EV charge that you're using there. There's the actual charge on the bottom, and then your traditional tachometer there along the right-hand side. From there, you've got the speedometer as well. So the EV settings, the way that this works, as you start to drive and you're using the battery, you will notice that you're going to move up this way. So the gauge is moving up. That's essentially meaning that you're using the EV. Versus if you're going this way, then you're using the traditional gas engine instead. As you go to brake, the vehicle is going to capture the charge. So regenerative braking, the charge is going to drop this way, but go green. That means that depending on how hard you're braking, you're going to be able to capture more charge as you go. This is going to be the total battery percentage as well. So this one is the, as I mentioned, the plug-in. So you can see there, it's currently only got about 4 kilometers left to go. But one crazy thing is that when I took this on a trip here, hold on, let's go. I want to show you this. So information. So I drove almost 68 kilometers, 0.5 liters per 100 is what 0.5 liters per 100 is what I was using because the majority of the time I was in electric mode. So I went over 60 kilometers in full electric. This car is crazy when it comes to fuel economy, like in the full tank, 60 kilometers, and I've used no gas whatsoever. It's amazing. Absolutely love it. So if you didn't have the plug-in, you wouldn't have this available, but because it's the plug-in hybrid, you can see that I've got 3 kilometers left. It's what gear are you currently in? So park, reverse, neutral, drive, whatever the case may be. You can see the gear there. And then it's your current fuel level, so how much fuel until empty, along with your current odometer. From there, as I mentioned, so that's your traditional speedometer with your digital speed in kilometers, and then digital speed in miles. And that's going to work the opposite way. So if you're in the States, it's going to be digital speed in miles up here, digital speed in kilometers down there. So you can flip between one or the other. You've got the outside temperature, current time, and then whether or not that cruise control system is toggled on, yay or nay. And as I mentioned, a bunch of different screens with so many options. So you've got a basic home screen if you just want nice and calming view instead, with the direction that you're facing. Just a basic screen as well. So if you don't want all of the different options, you can get rid of that. Pushing out gives you a few other options. So there's a trip 1 counter, how much fuel you're currently using. So your energy use, your fuel usage, your economy history. So how much are you actually using? Your fuel history, driving times, as well as your basic computer again. And then you can push OK in order to go between 1, 2 versus auto refuel. So essentially you've got your trip 1 counter, trip 2 counter, and then since you've last refueled the vehicle. You could reset any of these. So all you're going to do is push and hold in order to reset. So you can reset all, average speed, fuel economy, driving times, distances, things like that. Or you can just go back instead and we've reset nothing. So it's kind of neat that you can adjust that way. From there, you've also got your current battery temperature. You've got your driving assistance settings. So as of right now, there are no settings enabled, but as you start to drive, if the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, these are going to go green. And then from there, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. When you've got the adaptive cruise control system turned on as well, you see a few other systems. So what's going to happen with a few of these other systems? So the lane keeping system is the one that's going to nudge you back into your lane, or you've got an option of keeping you perfectly balanced in your lane as well. Forward collision assist, so if there's a potential collision in front of you, it can automatically brake. And then blind spot, so if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight to let you know. Actually, I think there are a few other screens there. So you've got your basic screen there, your distance screen, and then just a traffic sign screen, somewhere like a calming view. And then there are a boatload of settings. So you've got your traction stability control, which you can toggle off that way. Driver assistance settings. So steering assist can be used when you're in the adaptive cruise control system. And it's essentially not full self-driving, but it's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. You've got about 15 seconds with your hands off the wheel before you're going to get red messages telling you got to put your hands back on the steering wheel. So it's not full hands-free driving. From there, you've got different options for your lane. So lane distance warning versus your lane departure warning. So the LDP is the way to go for sure. So lane departure prevention. What that one means is that if you start to veer over into a lane with that signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. Again, you can turn that safety system off. Blind spot system. So if somebody has entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, you can get a warning. Active assist is going to brake for you if you haven't already started changing lanes in order to make sure that you don't end up getting into an accident. Emergency assist. Useful one for both emergency braking and auto rear. So if the vehicle recognizes that it needs to brake for you to prevent a collision, minimize impact, it's going to do that. Auto rear braking, when you're in reverse, if there's somebody behind you, it's automatically going to brake for you. So if there's an obstacle that you don't see. Do you want to see your traffic signs, yay or nay? Do you want it to automatically adjust your speed based off of your route? So if you've got a GPS route going inside of the factory navigation, it can automatically adjust your speed if it recognizes it on the map. It's kind of neat. Do you want a speed limit assist? So if you've got the cruise control system going and the speed drops by, let's say, I don't know, goes from 100 down to 80, it can automatically adjust that speed for you. It can let you know and then you can manually do it, or nothing whatsoever. That one's a matter of preference. Parking sensors, do you want to have for moving objects? So as you go to back up, forward, whatever the case may be, it'll let you know if there's an object in the way, so if there's somebody walking by. Do you want to have your parking sensors going, so your rear or your front sensors? And then which volume do you want? Rear cross traffic alert, as you go to back up, if somebody's coming perpendicular from you, it can let you know of a potential collision. Driver alert, if you start to veer over too many times without signaling, eventually it's going to tell you that you should probably take a break. Nothing else exciting there, but there are a series of different settings. I just love that you've got the flexibility to be able to toggle all of these safety settings off if you wanted to. Personal display is the display. You can see that moving along the side. So do you want your gear position there, average speed, brake lights, things like that, navigation, etc. So you do have the flexibility to kind of customize this a little bit. I'm a bigger fan of showing the fuel economy there, but that one's a matter of preference. There's also head-up display. Now one thing, can you see it? Oh, just can't see it there. But there's a button just by your left knee, so to the left a little bit more, to toggle the head-up display on or off. So you can see it's off there because it's now grayed out. But turning it back on, inside of the menu, you've got a boatload of options. So you can adjust the brightness, rotation, what content do you want showing up. So navigation, driving assistance settings, and things like that. So actually, let's get a route going right now. There we go. So inside of the head-up display, there's a boatload of different things that are available. So you can have your navigation going. So as you start to drive, it's going to let you know. But as of right now, inside of the head-up display, you can just see the basic vehicle speed, if the cruise control system was toggled on or off, etc. And then as we start to drive, you'll also notice that that's going to show up as well for the navigation. So it's essentially your turn-by-turn directions right inside of the head-up display as well. Very useful. But let's go. I'll show you that one in a second. Back, where are our settings? There we go. All right, and head-up display. So you've got a boatload of other options. So what info do you want showing up? Inside of the head-up display, navigation, driving information, traffic, etc. Then you can reset it to bring it back to the default instead. Eco mode settings. Let's see. Do you want your driver assistance indicator? So if you're in the eco driving mode, so as you go to adjust in a different, oh yeah, look at that. Electric power mode versus the eco mode. I like that. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So some modes are going to be unavailable just because parked, etc. But eco mode. So as we go to the eco mode there, that's essentially going to be the best possible fuel economy that you can get. But I mean, obviously we're in the hybrids, so the plug-in hybrids, so you're going to get a great fuel economy at the same time, as long as you're not driving like an idiot. You can see your vehicle history there as well for eco. Your tire pressure system, do you want it to be in PSI, KPA, bar, etc.? Clock. You've got the option of displaying the clock, yay or nay. What mode do you want to be in? So auto mode, manual, or based off of the time zone. The only time you're going to be in a time zone specific is if you straddle a time zone. So if you're constantly flipping back and forward between different zones, you can lock it out to any other time zone if you'd like to. Otherwise, honestly, for most people, auto mode is definitely the way to go. Clock format, do you want to be in that military time instead? So 12 versus 24-hour mode. And then if you're in the manual mode, you'd be able to adjust more things. So you can see there, you'd be able to adjust and set the clock manually instead. But like I said, Majority of the time, you're just going to want to be in that auto mode. Make it easy on yourself. Series of basic settings. Let's see. Do you want to turn off the tailgate, yay or nay? Adjust lighting, so welcome lighting when you come up to the vehicle later on at night. Accent lighting. So there is different lighting that's, well, I guess so only a single color light, but that's going to show up along the driver door handle and a few other spots inside the vehicle. When do you want to lock the door? Selective unlock, yay, nay. When you go to lock the vehicle using the fob, do you want to get a horn when you do that? Normally recommend doing that just in case. When do you want the door to lock? As you start to drive, when you shift out of park, or do you never want the doors to automatically lock? I honestly just recommend keeping it for vehicle speed so as you start to drive, but if from a safety perspective, you can do it when you shift out of park. Wipers, speed sensing, rain sensing, and then reverse link. Okay, reverse link's an interesting one because if you've got your wipers going, put the car into reverse, the rear wipers are automatically going to turn on as well. Driving position, exit seat slide. Oh, frustrating, but kind of cool at the same time. So when you go to turn your vehicle off, it's going to automatically back the seat up so you can get in and out a little bit easier. There is also seat memory though too on some trim levels of the vehicle. So once you've got your seat set up the way that you'd like to, you're going to push set and then either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. But what let's get rid of that, the seat slide is going to do, like I said, it's going to back it up, but you do have the option of adjusting in and putting 2 unique modes, or I should say memory for the driver's seat inside the vehicle. Rear seat alert. When you go to turn the vehicle off, do you want to get a horn or alert letting you know that there's potentially somebody in the back seat? Mirrors, do you want them to auto fold when you go to turn the vehicle off? Let's see, unfold and power on, unfold, unlock, etc. Battery cooler, nothing exciting there. Maintenance, if you're doing work yourself. Oil, you can reset it out. Tire, things like that. Customize the display a little bit. So you've got your menu selections. So what info do you want showing up on that main screen? Lots of different options. I love that you can customize this so much, but you're going to get different looks depending on what you have selected. Route guidance information. Do you want to get alerts as you've got an upcoming turn? Do you want to see the cruise control screen? Do you want to get that welcome? So that startup that we saw there, do you want to get that welcome effect, yay or nay? And let's see, auto high beam. So that's one that I mentioned when you're in the auto mode for the high beams. It's automatically going to turn the lights on for you and then dim them as necessary. And then do you want to enable seat memory, yay or nay? Let's see here, there we go. Units, do you want to be in liters or miles? There we go. So you can see they're automatically flip out to miles. And then along the very bottom, if you're in kilometers, miles, etc., it's going to flip you to one or to the other. And down, do you want to measure your tire pressure again? PSI, kPa, or bar? Do you want to be in Celsius or Fahrenheit? What language do you want to be in? Do you want to perform a factory reset? So if you played around with the settings too much, you don't like what you've done, factory reset it to bring it back to the basic screen instead. And yeah, look at that. Tons of options. And look at this, hold on, full mapping cluster, which is amazing. So I do have a route currently going, so you can see there the route that we need to take. I love that that's available. So good. And then one other cool thing. So if you push the button here, so it's your menu button, you've got a few other options. So you've got your meter view instead. But look at that. Gives you a fuller mapping cluster. I actually really love that look. So it's the same, basically the same look. So you've got your charge settings, EV settings. As you hit the gas there as well, you're going to go up. So it's essentially a traditional tachometer, your speedometer, etc. Digital speed, move up and down to get to all of these other options. So you can kind of go like a fuller screen instead, which it is kind of neat, but if you want that versus like a traditional setup instead, I just love the animation jump between the two of them. You can tweak your audio source. You do want to be an AM, FM, Sirius XM. So it's essentially whatever audio sources are available. You can do a button press to get into your driver assistant settings. And then you can, again, personalize that display along the left-hand side. So this one here is essentially just like a little shortcut versus driving in to all of the available settings. So I know that is a boatload of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Mitsubishi Outlander.